This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of
Pero Let Me Tell You. Music's going through ya. Can you feel the heat?
I sure as hell can, because it is record breaking lately.
The heat is moving through your body. Temperature is rising. Can you feel the heat? The heat.
But I do want some ice cream.
Anybody want some ice cream? I guess we could start with that.
I guess we can start. Listen, what better way to start a summer episode than with Toni Braxton?
No, it's Toni Braxton.
Oh, we're not starting it with Dark Child, though.
Dark Child.
Yeah, just Toni Braxton.
Toni Braxton.
Just Toni Braxton.
We were going back a little old school there with Toni Braxton,
yes.
and her song or album called The Heat.
The Heat.
Porque está súper caliente todo.
Oye, it's ridiculous. Well, it's record breaking.
Yeah.
Like literally record breaking.
Well, everybody, on that note,
Yes,
welcome to episode 259.
Welcome.
How are all
welcome.
of you in your hot cars as you drive?
The ACs better be working.
Yeah.
Porque si no, you're all puddles.
Yeah. No, la cosa está caliente.
Oye, it's
It really
crazy.
is caliente.
It's really caliente, yes. It's the one time that improper Spanglish works.
You know, it's funny because we're planning, hopefully, fingers crossed, a vacation next year because we have a relative that's getting married in Italy, and we're, it's a whole big family shabam. And I was looking up, and it would be like a year from now.
So the summer.
Yeah, it will be in June, July.
Okay.
So you're going to need a co-host, but we'll worry about that later.
I have a stable.
And I was looking in Rome. It was 108 this week.
Claro. Tomármol.
Oh, well, that's true. But you know what's funny? I've been to Rome several times, and every time I've been to Rome, I think the first time was April, and then the other two times it was May, and it was hot.
I went in the summer because it was during summer break, so it was hot.
Because I usually, when I would go to Europe, I would usually go during spring break, if you will, during that time.
Okay.
And it was always cool. Like, it was San Diego cool.
Había fresquito.
Un fresquito. Except in Rome. In Rome, it was like, oh my God. Like, I remember taking pictures at the Roman Forum, which is right next to the Colosseum.
Right.
And being like, oh my God, can we just take the picture and go?
Well, when in Rome.
When in Rome. So I'm thinking like, man, that's going to be interesting next year. Con el batallón de gente that I have, and everybody has.
But the wedding is like in the countryside, right?
The wedding is in Sorrento. It was like 100 degrees there too.
Oh, okay. No, I thought it was like in Tuscany or something.
It's still hot there.
I don't know, but I feel like fields, less marble.
Right, but there's
less
no
buildings to reflect the sun.
But there's no ocean. It's not coastal.
Oh, okay. Got it.
That's why I was looking like I looked at everywhere. I looked like Capri and all that. It wasn't as hot because it's an island. It's cool. I mean, do you know nothing from living in Miami?
Well, yes, I do. It's hot and humid here.
Right, but it's not as hot here as like in Arizona.
Oh, well, that's true. That's a dry heat.
Right, but here there is a breeze because we're in a peninsula.
Yeah, you know what? They say that, but there's not always a breeze.
Is there?
There's not always a breeze.
Un fresco. That sounds so good in Spanish, right? Un fresquito.
Mira, aquí during the summer, there are days where the only fresco is fresco y más.
Fresco y más.
Okay.
I always say, fresco y más, Winn-Dixie, why did your color have to be yellow?
Well, it caught your attention.
Yeah, but it's yellow. And you know how I feel about yellow? Ay, el amarillo.
So you don't like the song Amarillo Azul?
Amarillo Azul by Thalia. That's the only song I know from like the
era.
The lost tapes of Thalia
from the flower era.
Yeah, like the first, as we always say, when Thalia first came out, that she was, she would put flowers on her microphone. She was every weekend Siempre en Domingo, and we remember this. Like, we remember this. We have no idea what she was singing.
It's funny when she did her My Life in Looks with Vogue.
Mi vida en looks.
Mi vida en mis looks con Vogue. They showed like the pictures of her during that time frame. She's like, sí, porque en esta época yo estaba todo el flower power. And I'm like, but that's not flower power.
Yeah.
Like that's hippie stuff. Like that's not what you're doing.
There's nothing hippie about
you. No. Not even her hips.
Why?
Well, because she's thin.
Oh, well, yeah.
She's not even.
Supuestamente ella le faltan dos costillas.
Well, no, but that's your waist, not your hips.
I'll never forget that she did an interview in like, I don't know, I think it was like 1994 or 1995, where Chabeli
yes.
is Julio Iglesias' daughter, they were trying to make her a thing. And she was having like Barbara Walters type
Yes, they were doing specials.
And one of them was Thalia.
Like right after Marimar.
Yeah, or maybe in the middle between Marimar and Maria del Barrio. It was during that time. And I remember that she asked her, "A ti te faltan dos costillas?" Like, and I'm thinking, like, can you imagine Barbara Walters asking somebody, "Are you missing two ribs?"
You know, I could see Barbara Walters doing it, but under the guise of like, Talia, there's been a lot of rumors about you.
No, she'll say Talia.
Talia, there's been lots of rumors about you.
Yeah.
That you like older men. You've removed your wibs. What is it like to be the subject of all these constant rumors? Like, right, that's how she would like bring it up, right?
Yeah. You're right. But anyway, hay tremendo calor, and I mean, I know, kind of say it's sort of in the same realm of, we say every year that the year is flying and it's going faster than ever.
Y este año hace más calor que nunca.
And I feel that we say that este año hace más calor que nunca. But then the records show otherwise. The records show
Not
they
this
are.
year.
No, they show they are.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes,
right.
yes,
They show otherwise that in fact it is.
It is. Yeah. This year specifically.
Yeah. So, you know.
There were places in Africa that were like 120. 120? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do when it's 90.
I mean, you're talking to the person that has their house is a tundra. So imagine.
We have throws at the ready here.
Yes.
Just in case we get cold while we're filming. Like, that's our emergency backup.
Yeah.
The throws.
So I want everybody be careful. I mean, I know we're laughing about it, but
heat stroke is no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke. I sort of suffered heat stroke one time.
You did. And it was at Dollywood.
And it was in Tennessee.
It was in Dollywood.
Yeah, people. So a few years ago, we went to Dollywood. We were all staying at Ishmael's cabin, La Cabina de Ismael. And one day we were like, let's do what all people do when they're in Pigeon Forge. Let's go to Dollywood.
Why not? We love Dolly Parton.
You know, I'm like, I'm from Miami. I could deal with the heat. I'm Caribbean, people. And so we get to Dollywood, and aside from it being super hot, the thing that really caught our eye, I'm like, they're giving away water.
Yeah, they were giving away water.
They're giving away water.
For the record, there are literally days at theme parks here in Florida where I'm pretty sure I was just a human blob moving because of the heat. Nobody offered.
This thing's in the world.
They're not going to offer water.
So we're in Dollywood, and they're giving away water. That was like the first red flag. Yeah. And, you know, we're into it a little bit, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, and I'm that person that I don't complain. Like, I'm not.
No. You barrel through.
I barrel through. I don't complain. I'm not like, oh, my head hurts. I'm not that person. I've never been that person, especially among our friends. And I'm like, oh, people, I think I'm about to pass out. And I had heat exhaustion.
Yeah. Well, Tapa Pomo was the ride.
Right. And then also, it's a high elevation in Dollywood.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what the elevation is, but it's
higher than Miami.
It is higher than Miami. So I was like, oh, so this is what heat stroke is. Like seconds before I was about to hit the floor and pass out. But thankfully, I found air conditioning and water.
Yes.
And we avoided a tragedy.
We avoided a tragedy at Dollywood.
I mean, can you imagine like everybody lifting me up? Es show que se hubiera formado.
I just thought, like, what if something bad happens, Dolly appears to, soothe you.
Okay, I think then it was well worth it. It was
well
worth it.
Right.
She'll be like, DJ, oh, why don't you drink some water for me? DJ, these Smoky Mountains.
Please don't faint just because you can.
Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of take a blast from the past.
Right.
I forgot which account. I don't know if it was Miami Stadium, one of our favorite accounts.
Yes.
Which, if you're a fan of, we're trying to get him on the show.
Yes.
I don't know if it was Miami Stadium or some other kind of nostalgic account that they posted something about Z Cavariccis.
Oh no, I don't think it was Miami Stadium because I'm pretty good at remembering when you
Yeah.
post stuff, but I didn't see that one. No.
Yeah, it was about Z Cavariccis, and it was so nostalgic because, I mean, I feel that I always thought Cavariccis is like, it feels like a total Miami thing,
but it wasn't.
but it wasn't because AC Slater used to wear them.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for those of you who are too young to remember, so Cavariccis were these pants that were in like the early 90s. And the early 90s, everything was baggy. And it was sort of, I would like to think that Cavaricci pants were inspired by MC Hammer.
I was going to say, well, they came out, I think, right before Hammer, right?
Or around that time.
They were like,
it's just baggy.
They were like tailored parachute pants. Because they weren't as baggy as Hammer, right? Obviously.
As baggy as Hammer in public is a public nuisance.
Right.
Like,
but then it was like,
you need a permit for that.
But then it was like high-waisted.
Yes.
So that's why I say it was like a tailored parachute pant.
Yeah.
Because it was high-waisted, so, it was tummy tuck, and then at your ankles.
Yeah.
Right. But afterwards, it was all poof.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, look, I don't like to look at past fashion through the current lens.
You can't.
Because I don't like to look back and be like, oh my God, that was so tacky. But there are things in the past of fashion that I look at it, I'm like, that was good, cool for its time.
Of course.
Like,
That's how you have to look at it.
That's not, vests. I mean, when vests were in, I was all about the vests.
I love me a vest.
But, in other things, but, Cavariccis, looking back on it, they were ugly as fuck. I mean, they really were. They were not. First of all,
they weren't flattering.
They were not flattering.
They
were not flattering whatsoever. And I mean, and they were so popular. And here in Miami, the place to get your Cavariccis was Lorraine Designers
or Pepe Jeans.
Lorraine Designers. In Bird Road and 87th. Yep. And if you're from Miami, if you know, you know.
You know.
That's a total if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Lorraine Designers.
You have to be of a certain age, a certain place. Yeah.
And I think I've said this story here in the podcast. When Cavariccis were really in, my parents didn't want to get me a pair because they were expensive.
Oh yeah, they were like what, $80?
They were like $80 to over $100 for a pair of pants.
I had one pair.
My parents didn't want to get me some, and all the kids in school had Cavariccis, and my brother obviously had Cavariccis because my brother is 7-8 years older than me, and
so he bought his own.
So pair. I was like, oh, I know how I'm gonna do this. I took my brother's Cavariccis, I put them in my book bag, and when I got to school, I immediately ran to the bathroom and put them on. Now the thing was that my brother at that time, I was like,
you were how old?
I was like 10
and your brother
was like 18.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a size difference, but it didn't matter because what I did was that I got the Cavariccis. I left my jeans on, and I got the Cavariccis and kind of tucked them in my jeans.
Oh, so that you added an extra layer.
Right. So I'm like the waist of the Cavariccis, I tucked them into
the jeans.
Right. So they sort of held up. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be like really bad during PE. But we didn't have PE that day.
Menos mal.
Because if not,
did your brother ever find out?
No, nobody ever found out.
No,
that was
except
one of those.
For now, we're
we're
all putting it out there.
Yeah, but I mean, they were tacky Cavariccis. But I feel that life was good if you were listening to you were wearing Cavariccis while listening to TKA.
Well, I mean, that was a Saturday,
right?
That was a Saturday. That was a good party.
Yeah. And they were in the house.
They were. It's funny because I was just thinking as you were mentioning it, Z Cavariccis was a big thing. It wasn't just here. It was all over. And I don't ever remember seeing an ad for Z Cavariccis. Like, I don't remember.
Like a commercial?
Yeah, because, okay, you talk about like Brooke Shields and Calvin Klein jeans, right? Where you're like, okay, Calvin Klein jeans took off because, they had the campaign and Calvin Klein, there was that. I don't remember that happening with Z Cavaricci. And again, this was before social media. So I'm wondering how it just took off.
I think I remember print ads.
Okay, maybe.
But I definitely don't remember commercials. I think that in the late 80s, early 90s, it was all of... the commercials were like, excuse me, are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing? Whatever happened to Bugle Boy?
Well, they're probably available with British Knights.
Oh, okay. Bugle Boy. Does anybody have a pair of old Bugle Boys?
Bugle Boy. Let's see. Bugle Boy, British Knights. What were the LA ones? LA Gear.
LA Gear.
LA Gear.
LA Gear.
Caboodles is still pops around every once in a
Caboodles
while.
was for what for me?
Caboodles was the little boxes, the compartments that the girls used.
Right. Okay, why do we know about Caboodles? There were a lot of commercials with Caboodles.
That's what I'm saying. There was
Yeah.
a lot of Caboodles commercials.
Yeah.
Which is a great alliteration.
There were. That is the Rolly Kit.
The Rolly Kit. Eso era un gasto de tiempo.
Yeah.
Stupid Rolly
man,
Kit.
the
Joey
L-
Mangano.
you know where I know British Knights from?
Where?
Funhouse.
That's right.
The show Fun. I mean,
Roth.
we're totally dating ourselves.
Yeah, we
here.
are. Wow.
But in Funhouse, JD Roth would
Always
wear
wear
British
British
Knights, and I think the contestant won British Knights
Probably. That makes sense. They
because
probably
the little
underwrote it.
emblem on it was plated in like gold plated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably like
A sponsor.
yeah, it was like probably 0.00005 gold, but gold nonetheless.
But gold nonetheless.
Yeah. What else?
Let me see. I'm trying to think now. Like in terms of
Oh shit! You know what I was? Yeah, this is a little bit later. You know what I was really into?
the hypercolor.
The hypercolor. You know what I was really into in high school? What brand? Yaga.
I had totally forgotten about
Remember Yaga?
Right now.
This was like mid '90s. I was into Yaga, Massimo.
That was around like the No Fear.
Yes,
era.
No Fear.
Right.
That's when I would go to PacSun. You know.
Massimo.
Yeah, that's when I would like.
Who knew he'd marry Lori Loughlin?
Yeah. But Yaga, do you remember the Yaga shirts?
You know what? I remember Yaga, but I had completely wiped my mind clean of Yaga.
Yeah.
Like it didn't exist until you
I
said
always
it
thought
right
it Huna Yaga. Like it's
now. What a horrible thing to
Yeah.
be named after a cold sore. Do you like my new cold sore t-shirt? What the hell?
But yeah, that was like the shit in high school.
It was.
But that was later. That was like mid '90s. Like Cavariccis were late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah. The No Fear Massimo stuff was like late middle, early
But it's so
high.
funny how like high school, like well for us that it was in the '90s. Everything in the '90s was bigger because I mean I've told you I have a lot of my clothes from high school, if not most of it, put away because it was all from the Gap. I used to shop. Exclusively from the Gap.
Exclusively. He was like a walking Gap.
There
commercial.
was maybe like a little again like the Yaga shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things that were maybe I liked. Maybe I would get a T-shirt or something like that. But if I went like back to school shopping, I would only go to the Gap.
And listeners, you know how their slogan used to be "Fall into the Gap"? He did.
Yeah, like I would only shop at the Gap. If I went to the Gap and there wasn't anything I like, I just wouldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
It was later, like by the time we were like maybe seniors in high school, that I started like, oh, let me go to Structure.
You took the words out of my mouth. Good Lord.
Let me go to Structure.
You know that sometimes I miss Structure.
Yeah, Express and
I
Structure.
like
are not the
Express,
same.
but it's not the same. They're not the same.
No. It had a different aesthetic.
Nope. Different vibe.
Anyway, and so I've kept a lot of my clothes from the Gap, and I hope to wear them soon because there's something I want to do with them. But
One day we should do like an 80s montage of you just trying on all your
well,
high
they're
school
90s.
stuff.
They're 90s.
But you know, like an 80s montage
But the
thing,
thing is, where I'm going with this is that most of those clothes still kind of fit me, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is 20 some years ago.
Right.
I'm not what I weighed in high school, but that's because in high school I bought everything XL and 2XL.
Yep.
And I'm like, but why? And it's because it was the 90s.
Yep.
Everything was like super big. But the good thing is that now it fits me.
I wonder how it would fit me because now that you know that I wear like a child's medium.
Yeah.
I
but,
don't know.
But you know what's so interesting? Like a lot of the, especially polo shirts I have from the Gap, from the 90s, I look at pictures of me wearing it, and for example, the sleeve would be like on my elbow.
Yeah.
And now I'm all about like the muscle tee. Like
Right.
put it up.
Definition. Like let's show shit. I go to the gym. Yeah.
But it fits differently now I like how it fits.
Now it fits
Right.
proper.
To a modern aesthetic.
To a modern aesthetic, but probably when they were creating it,
But
they didn't want to
that was fun. The Gap,
I was never a
Structure.
Chess King boy.
No, but Chess King was before our time.
Yeah, but we
Chess-
caught the tail end of Chess King.
Merry-go-round.
Yeah, Mary. Wow.
That was before our time.
Yeah.
That was like my brother's time.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think I ever bought anything there for me. For like that was age appropriate for me. Like I remember for girls it was like rave.
Wet Seal.
Wet Seal.
I
my
used
God.
to love Wet Seal because
Because all of the monitors.
yes, and no, and it had like that cool section with all the like stuff.
I bet you that the aesthetic and the layout of Wet Seal was inspired by Nia Peebles and the Party Machine. And whoever gets that reference, first of all, you're our age.
Yes, welcome to the club.
You're on the 4th floor, and you have a very, very specific memory.
Yeah.
No, it's like when you would go to Wet Seal, it was like, am I in a club? Like,
Yes, you were. You were a club Wet
estaba en
Seal.
una discoteca. And the music was always like blasting.
Yeah.
Blasting.
Stores like that just don't exist anymore. Period. Like everything now just looks like middle-aged. Even things that are meant for youth.
Well, you know what? I was reading about, I think we've talked about this on the show. I was reading about that the aesthetic a lot of times of retailers and restaurants, like, you know that meme that goes around that McDonald's now looks like a depressed,
middle-aged
depressed
worker,
person, and that's because they want everything to go like to have an artisanal look with like more muted colors, more like whitewashed wood, subway tile, and I'm thinking, okay, I could understand that. You know, something that is full of color. It's like carnival ships from the 90s.
Yes.
That
Okay,
it was
okay.
like all these colors and all these lights and all that. I'm like, okay, I can understand how that's very trendy and that aesthetic can
has
go
a
out
shelf
of
life, yeah.
It has a shelf life and it goes out of style quickly. But can we meet somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, we don't have to swing the pendulum all the way to the other side.
Because now everything is like gray, muted colors,
Lots of
and
beige.
listen, I like gray and I love gray tones,
But there's
and
a
all
time and
that.
place.
I'm you know me, I'm not big on color. But okay, but yeah, like everything doesn't have to look like super depressed. Like why are McDonald's all gray now?
You know what? It just started with them getting rid of the playgrounds.
Yeah, for liability reasons.
Well, whatever. But they got rid of the playground and
you know how many
depressed.
cases I had with McDonald's and Burger King playgrounds?
Really?
I had like probably over a dozen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the thing is that there's nobody overlooking them, and remember that most McDonald's are franchises.
True.
So a lot of times these franchisees, if they had a playground, yes, it was definitely you would pull in more people, or you know, people with kids, obviously, for the playground. But then now, as a franchisee, you had to undergo the maintenance of that playground.
True.
Right, and you know, a lot of these slides and all that, they're very in terms of engineering and all that, they look very simple, but they're very complex. So you know, Cheito, who has a McDonald's ahí en la calle Ocho, do you think that he's gonna have like,
This is
you
true.
know, the playground inspector there?
But that's why today's kids will never know the joys of a McDonald's birthday.
I know. I did you ever have your birthday at
I had
McDonald's?
several. Me and my sister.
Which years? What years?
I can't. I'm horrible with
I had
memory.
7, 8, and 9.
That sounds about right. Like
Yeah.
maybe 6, 7, 8 or something
I
like
had 7,
that.
8, and
yeah,
9.
Yeah, we had them. It was always at the one on Bird Road in front of Tropical Park.
Okay, so you know what's really interesting about my McDonald's experience is that the McDonald's by my parent, the closest McDonald's to my parents' house would have been the one, you know, if you're from Miami, by Bird Road and 112.
Yes, the new
Right.
one. To
The
me,
new one,
to
right?
me, that's still
the new one.
Yeah,
It's like 30
yeah,
years
yeah.
old, but the new one. For some reason, my McDonald's birthdays was on the McDonald's on 8th Street and 122nd. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't know why. We didn't know anybody that worked there. It's not like, okay, you know, we know somebody that works
Maybe
there.
it was the date that you guys wanted was only available at that one.
But I did it there for 7, 8, and 9. I did it there for 3 years.
I tried.
Like-
I tried to give a solution. I don't know. how-
and it was always at that one. My grandmother my dad's mom lived by there at that time, but that's not why we were doing it
Yeah,
there.
you're not gonna
We
do
were
it
doing it
there.
there para estar cerca de la casa de la abuela.
like really. Nika, you were going over there for a bounce house afterwards, you know?
I'll never forget. So this is actually a really funny story. The first year that I had, and you know, me and my photographic memory, that I remember all these details that I, you know, shouldn't remember. But I remember that the first year I had McDonald's, which when I turned 7, you know, I had my little friends from school come and all that, and we did the whole song and dance, and they all brought us Happy Meals and all that.
Yeah.
But I guess that my mom didn't know that there was like a tiered system where you can also pay for the parents and the other people to eat.
Oh, okay, right.
Where they would
yeah.
bring them burgers and
Yeah,
whatever.
they would bring the tray with the
So
burgers,
I
yeah.
guess my mom just thought that, the kids eat. She didn't know that there was an option where the parents could eat.
Oh,
so they brought the
okay.
food for the kids, and all the parents were there. None of the parents ate. And after, my mom and my dad were like, "Que pena."
Well, you You learn.
Que pena. Well, at that point in time, my parents had only been here from Cuba
Por eso
for like,
digo,
you know,
6 years, 7 years.
six,
It was
seven
your
years.
7th birthday, so 6 years.
Yeah, they were still in training.
Right. Listen, bastante that they had the birthday at McDonald's.
Yes.
All right.
But they were like, que pena. And then, the following years, there was Burgers for All. But I distinctly remember, and for you listeners out there who had your birthday at McDonald's, I remember the birthday cake, the sheet
I do too.
cake. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Seth, to Burger Beast, about this. And he was telling me that there was one McDonald's down here that still had it. And I was like, we got to go get it. Yeah, so I miss it, and I remember
with the sugar characters.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. That it was like, I think Grimace was on it.
Grimace. It was Grimace, Ronald, and probably like Birdie or like the Fry Guys or something like that.
That they were sugar.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm sure that if I taste that cake now, it probably sabe a rayo, but I want to have it.
I want it.
Like,
See,
I want it.
That is what the flavor should have been for the Grimace shake.
Yeah.
Because the whole spiel of the Grimace shake was like, oh, remember it's nostalgia when you used to have your birthdays at McDonald's. Have it taste like the cake.
Yeah.
They missed an opportunity.
So McDonald's, bring birthdays back.
The problem with the McDonald's birthday now is that, again, because there's no playgrounds,
right,
you're basically just having the children go to a McDonald's. Like, you might as well have them go to like a Buca de Beppo.
Yeah, no, but now kids with their electronics, they'll be
there's
like,
nothing to do.
They'll be like, we're gonna play hopscotch. What's that?
Yeah, there's nothing to do at a McDonald's, But you know what? Now you got me thinking. I'm gonna look into it because maybe I'll just have like Happy Meals at my birthday party.
Okay, I don't want to ruin your dream, pero a mí un Happy Meal me cabe en una muela.
Well, in addition to other things, but like like a tray of like little Happy Meals.
Okay, so speaking of fast food, there is something that has gone viral this week of Burger King in, I believe, Thailand.
Thailand, yes.
Burger King in Thailand
Speaking
has
of
this.
fast
they
food.
came out with again, Burger King in Thailand. They came out with this
I have it here.
burger
I'm gonna bring it
that
up.
has 22 slices of cheese.
Yeah.
And they call it the ultimate cheeseburger. I don't know about you, but I am totally for that. Give me the 22 slices of cheese with bread.
It has no meat.
At
all.
Give
At
me
all.
the cheese.
I'm in.
Give me the cheese. I saw some guy, I think he was in LA, having it. And I think that he probably just knew somebody at that Burger King that they made it for him because it's not stateside. I'm all in on it.
He was in LA, or was he like happened to be in Thailand?
No, he was not in Thailand because I saw the background.
Oh, okay.
He was not in Thailand. And I'm like totally for it. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is, I mean, I'm sure our listeners probably have noticed.
It's their new vegetarian option.
Our new vegetarian option, 22 lacas de queso. I mean,
I want it. I want to have it.
What I wanted to kind of mention in terms of conversation, and our listeners probably have noticed.
Said, BK, you're headquartered here in Miami. If you bring this, please invite us to go have it.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Yeah. We'll be there.
Putting it out there.
Pero let me tell you, Burger King cheeseburger.
The HQ's right there in Les
Yeah, we're, why is it? I mean this seriously. Why is it that fast food chains, McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, why is it that internationally they have so many better options than domestically? Because I mean, I've been lucky enough that I've done a lot of traveling, and I've seen the menus of these fast food places in other parts of the world, and like they have amazing things.
Yeah, options on options.
KFC, I forget in what country it is. It's a country in Asia. Do you know what they have on the menu?
I feel like you've told me this before. But
they have chicharrón, like their equivalent of chicharrón, which is the chicken skin.
That sounds like probably the Philippines.
The original chicken skin. Mm-hmm. They have it as like, chicharrón.
Right.
And you order a basket of, KFC original chicken skin. I mean, who wouldn't want that as like, crispy? Oh, I mean, why isn't that here? I mean, we're America. We're the land of gluttony. Like, why isn't that here? Also,
do you think it's because of that, though? Because maybe there's some type of, here we get very, like, up in our... I'll use McDonald's as the example, like, the Happy Meals, we shouldn't be targeting to children because of all the health risks. And
we shouldn't have supersized.
Right. So do you think maybe that's why they're like, you know what? You're not worth the effort.
I don't know. But it's not even that because, Mira, I forget what country it is as well. I think, again, it's an Asian country where the KFC sells a whole fried chicken.
Like a whole un
The
pollo entero.
whole fried chicken, not
Oh, wow.
not in pieces. Cogen el pollo completo.
Just deep fry that.
They deep fry that chicken.
And here you go.
And here you go. I mean, why don't we have this here?
We just don't have nice things.
And then, McDonald's, like, I'll never forget when I was in Australia, it was like an Olympic year. I think it was, it was an Olympic year. And they had like 4 different types of quarter pounders in celebration of previous Olympics. So, for example, they had a quarter pounder that was Asian inspired because of the Beijing Olympics. They had another quarter pounder that had like tzatziki sauce because of the Athens ones, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, but why don't we have that here? Like,
I think there is something to be said, and I'm gonna come at me, I guess, but I'm gonna say it. There's also something to be said about the culture or lack thereof when it comes to food in this country. And the reality of it is that when you're creating some of these flavors, the first thought is, how is this going to play out with, as they say, Joe Six-Pack, right? Is it worth the investment to only sell in a couple of markets? Because I would think, and I don't have the data to back this up, but I would think that the majority of fast food sales are probably happening in smaller cities, smaller towns, not like your Miami's, New York, Chicago's. I mean, I'm not saying that the
places
sales
that
aren't
have food
there.
deserts.
Right, places that have more food deserts. Whereas here, yes, obviously we eat fast food all the time, but we are also going to go to like a restaurant, a nice place and experience and things like that.
so what you're saying?
So-
well, yes and no.
So,
Yes and-
so maybe I'm saying maybe that's an element
yes and no,
of,
because
of,
I'm going
of
to
why.
say that, for example, in Europe, McDonald's is equivalent. It's fast food. It's equivalent in the food hierarchy as it is here.
Yeah, it's fast food, right?
It's fast food,
Right.
and in Europe they have a much more extended menu than they do here.
But
Right.
again,
so it's not like, okay, I understand that there's McDonald's in other places in the world that's a more upscale thing.
But
because,
I didn't mean upscale. I meant just in terms of like the palate of the countries.
yeah, but a lot of these things aren't like very complicated things to eat. Like, for example, the fried skin of
no, yeah.
I mean, you don't think that would be a hit here?
that would be a hit.
I mean, you're talking about the place where Paula Deen deep fries a piece of cake. And we have deep fried Oreos.
Oh
Like,
my God, I thought she was going to deep fry Kermit the Frog that time.
yeah, I mean, that here. I mean, of course,
No,
people are
SOC,
gonna have-
yeah,
I mean,
for
Joey
sure.
Tribbiani would. Some friends would have a field day with that.
This is true.
But that's something I've always noticed, that internationally, a lot of these food places, these fast food places, have just much more extended menus and more things than we do here. I've never understood why.
Yeah, because it's not just about localizing the flavor, which that I would inherently understand, right? Like if I don't know, in the Philippines they have a palate actually very close to like ours. So if they do something like with nananghagria, okay, I get it, because that's
Right, but
that's one thing. But
But
what you're saying
we're
is
not talking
different,
about
right?
like they have these exotic or more unorthodox flavor profiles
Right,
for a
right,
burger,
right.
or for whatever it is that they're selling. No, it's just things like, think about the menu here at McDonald's. It's the Big Mac, the quarter pounder, the cheeseburger, and the chicken sandwich,
And the nuggets.
and the nuggets. We don't have a snack wrap anymore. We
Mr.
don't have a
Snack
grilled
Wrap.
chicken sandwich. We don't have a salad.
Seth, you already brought back the bagel breakfast
So-
sandwiches. Can you bring back the snack wrap?
Anyway.
Hi, mi gente. All right, we're back again with Diane Smith, for the Director of Marketing and Partnership at the Florida Dairy Farmers, as we continue our partnership with Florida Dairy to talk about all the great benefits of just dairy. I mean, Diane, you were telling me earlier, hydration. Hydration is a huge benefit of dairy that I would never even have thought of initially.
Well, there's been a lot of science and a lot of studies done behind this. That milk is very nutrient rich. We all know that, right? It
Yes.
has calcium, it has potassium, it has all kinds of good things for you, 13 essential nutrients. So what they have found is actually that all those nutrients, including the fat and the protein and all the other ones, are actually, when you drink milk, your body is going to take a little bit longer to digest it and to process it. So that time is going to allow the body to absorb more of the water. And that's why it is more hydrating, because it has, the electrolytes, it has the potassium, it has the fat, and all of that stuff that's going to make your body absorb more water.
I love it. It's like all of the things out there combined into one, right? It's like the sports drink, it's got water, it's got the calcium from the dairy, from the milk. It's almost like the optimal drink to have before you go out to one of those sweltering Miami days. And well, you're in Orlando, you can feel the heat as well as we can, right?
Absolutely. It's pretty hot up here as well. But, we see actually a lot of athletes that actually recover with chocolate milk after exercising, for 60 minutes or more. Your body has lost a lot of the electrolytes in your body or your nutrients. And by drinking chocolate milk, it has a unique combination of the milk with the protein and the fat and the nutrients, but also the sugar of the chocolate. And all of that come together is actually going to help your muscles recover faster. So a lot of athletes are actually drinking chocolate milk, and not only athletes too, especially the kids now in the summer that they're out of school, they're not drinking the 3 servings of milk
That's true.
that they normally do. So it's important that us as parents, offer them some choices and have some, white milk or chocolate milk or strawberry milk, whatever they like in the fridge, so they can make sure that they are consuming it.
Okay, the best part about this entire segment, though, is you just gave me permission to drink chocolate, and I can say I'm being healthy.
Absolutely. I think, everything in moderation is good. Just don't drink a gallon, just have a glass and we'll be good.
Fair enough. So, on the subject of hydration, again, being Florida residents, we fully understand the heat here can become unbearable. And we were talking about drinking milk, after a workout with the athletes and all of that. But is it also as beneficial if we drink it before going out, let's say for, a run or something like that? Does it help on both ends of the spectrum?
I think that the studies that we do have always shown the benefit afterwards. I
Okay.
think you always can drink milk. A lot of people prefer not to drink it right before they go out to exercise. But, I guess that's up to you and see how you can manage it. But the other thing too is you can have other drinks, right? It's not just chocolate milk. You can have like a smoothie,
Oh,
or
that's
you can
right.
have a yogurt, or you can have, maybe if you're not going exercising, going out, maybe you want some ice cream. Depending on what you like. July is ice cream month, and we always
That's true.
love, indulging into some of the ice cream and the milkshakes. And we have like so many recipes in our websites in Leche de Florida or Florida Milk. Either you can make your own ice cream from scratch, even if you don't have an ice cream maker, or you can make some delicious drinks, some that are for the whole family and some that are actually with alcohol. So check them out.
All right. Well, I'll be doing the ones with alcohol because I'm not underage. I am well above the legal requirement. So I think a little boozy touch here and there can't hurt.
Absolutely. We have lots of boozy milkshakes. I actually made one for South Beach Food and Wine Festival earlier in February this year, and it was a definitely hit.
Yes,
So
it was. I
definitely
had it.
recommend you check it out.
I
You
had
did?
that. Yes, it
Good.
was definitely a hit. Absolutely. So, again, as Diane mentioned, you can check out all of this information, with running the gamut from the recipes for the milkshakes, for sundaes, smoothies, and also just more information about, how to use how to use milk in general. But since we're in Florida, we're going to use Florida milk to hydrate. And you can go to floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com. And Diane, thank you again so much. Every time you come by, you give me so much information that I feel smarter just after talking to you. So thank you so much.
Gracias.
Sprinkles? Check. Hot fudge? Check. Ooh, cherries? Check. Chocolate and vanilla ice cream? Check, check.
Chico, what list are you making?
That's everything I need to celebrate National Ice Cream Month.
Verdad, que July is when we celebrate all the yummy, cold, dairy goodness that is ice cream.
Yeah, and I'm planning on making tremendo sundae using ice cream made from real Florida milk.
Don't forget, we can also use ice cream to make milkshakes too. Even make a piña colada shake. Put some coconut ice cream in there and...
Ooh, que rico. Okay. Well, if you want to find other fun recipes for enjoying ice cream this July, just head to floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com today.
Okay, but here's the real question. Are you gonna share that sundae?
Maybe.
Bueno, moving right along, because we could be
talking about this
I'm thinking of the crispy
forever.
the crispy skin of KFC.
I see, and we record too late to have crispy skin.
Are you kidding? So, actually, one of the things I wanted to bring up this week, because it's something I read in the Miami Herald, and I just thought it was interesting, and I'm going to give my take, and then I would like to hear your take. Okay. So there have been a lot of in the last couple of months or whatever, several murals of Messi.
Yes.
That have been painted and are popping up all around town. And, for those of you who don't know, Inter Miami, which is the football team here, football, here in Miami, they recently signed Lionel Messi for about a 2.5 year contract for, I think it's between 160 to 175 million dollars for those 2 years. So he's roughly making anywhere between 70 to 80 million dollars a year. So his and
I think he starts this week.
His mural. They painted murals all around town, and the Miami Herald today on Instagram had something like, "Oh, here are the Messi murals. Here's where they are, where you could find them, so you could go take pictures of them or whatever." And we always say here on the show that the comment section of, well, especially Twitter, but comment sections are always like a cesspool, and people just at their worst and being extremely critical. But I did read a lot of. A few of the comments in that post that the Miami Herald did, and I found that a big consensus, people were complaining that, this man who's not from here, although that's really kind of irrelevant in this argument, but this man is being paid millions and tens of millions of dollars to take pictures of him, and he's, at the end of the day, an athlete. And I've never liked being that person that is like, well, why do we pay people in sports so much? Why do we pay celebrities so much? Whereas doctors and people that are saving lives, teachers, educators that are in the front lines get paid so little in comparison to them. I've always been like, that's a discussion to have, but I also don't want to be the party pooper either. But I have to tell you that this time around, this Messi thing, and again, I mention him because he is the hot person at the moment in terms of sports here in Miami. This Messi thing, the timing is just really off, because you're talking about a city right now that, and I think that no matter what your political affiliation is or where you stand on things, you would agree, we're dealing with certain crises here in Miami that are very unique to the times. Miami has become extremely unaffordable. I believe it's the most unaffordable city in the United States now. And something we used to say about Miami until very recently, when you would compare it to like a New York, an LA, a Chicago, San Francisco, is that here you could still live pretty well at a fraction of the price that you could live in those cities. Well, now we're even more expensive. And, wages here are a problem. Affordability is a real problem.
Everything's gone up with the wage.
If you rent, you barely can afford rent. If you own a house, everybody tells you own a house. Well, as a homeowner, I'm always now thinking about insurance, like property insurance.
Farmers just
left the Florida, so now it's a really big problem. So we're aside from, or in addition to, again, whatever your take on climate change is. Climate change here in Miami is more noticeable than anywhere else.
It affects us,
or more than in other places with flooding. When it rains now, it floods. The floodings they have in South Beach or Miami Beach, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things right now that are occurring in our city that are extremely challenging and are definitely affecting directly, all of us. So I can understand the comment that it's a little bit sort of tone deaf to celebrate somebody who's coming here to play football, and we're paying him $70 million a year when most of the city can't barely afford rent. So I certainly understand that argument because again, we're celebrating something that I know football means a lot to a lot of people. And again, I don't want to be that person, but we're celebrating something that, this is a person who's already won. I think he's the highest paid athlete in the world.
It's not a rookie.
Right? He's the highest paid athlete in the world. And we're spending all this money and, there's so many problems here. So to me, it feels a little bit tone deaf that we're erecting all these murals and let's go like, oh my God, look at this mural, when we have so many real challenges here. So I certainly understand the criticism. So what's your take on that?
So I will say, I'll start with the mural. I have an issue with the painting of the murals, not in and of themselves, right? Because Miami, Wynwood has all the art, and we do murals to like, Gloria Estefan, Willie Chirino, Celia Cruz, Pitbull, whomever. But these are individuals who, it's not so much that they are from Miami, but it's that they have done something
And they
for the
mean
city.
something to the people of Miami.
This guy hasn't shown up yet. So why are we extolling him in these in murals, right? Before he's even shown if he cares enough about the city itself, right?
That's a really good point.
Right? Because that's what I have an issue with, where it's like, I want you to be excited. I want you to be excited that your favorite player is coming because it's going to bring attention. It's going to bring ticket sales. In theory, that will result in jobs and growth. And, like there's a great opportunity there for that, right? But don't build this person up as this pillar or member of the community who's been here for 22 minutes.
Right.
Like, that's an issue for me.
Right.
It would be the equivalent of like all the, tech bros in Brickell, right? Us, saying like, well, they're Miamians, but they've never been, past the 95 overpass.
They haven't had any meaningful contribution to the city.
Right. That's my bigger issue than everything, because you could make the argument for everything that you're saying. Absolutely. And it all holds water. But that's a conversation and an argument that we've been having for like time immemorial, as far as back as I can remember, right? The conversation of like, things are bad and we're paying so much for this person, and da-da. So you can have those conversations, but I don't think that's a new conversation to be had. I have an issue with that.
Well, it's certainly not a new conversation to have. That's,
right.
We talked about that. But I think that for Miami especially, we haven't had that many cases. We have with like the Heat and all that, but we haven't had that many cases of these, like, because Messi, is...
The last time was probably LeBron.
Right, but LeBron is famous in the U.S. in basketball.
Right. But I'm saying that was the last time, yeah. Global. He's global.
He is probably the most famous athlete in the the
Yeah.
Right? And he's coming here.
Yeah.
I understand how that's a big
the excitement,
deal.
of course.
The excitement. And again,
and right before World Cup.
The fact that they're paying him so much money, that's tales all this time. That's, as you said, that's something we've always complained about. But just, again, it seems a little bit, it's tone deaf. And if a lot of people are being critical of these murals, I understand it, because we're dealing with things right now. There's always challenges.
We have quote unquote real problems.
There's always challenges anywhere at any time. There's always challenges. Yeah. But when you're dealing now with a challenge that most people in Miami can't afford rent or their mortgage, a large percentage of people are being priced out of their home city. That's a problem. So, the fact that we're celebrating somebody that's not, that's, again, as you said, he's been here 20 minutes. Yeah. We're putting a mural of him. And, he's being paid $70 million a year. I could understand how there's people that are like, shit, but, what about the people that live here? Right. Why aren't we?
What about us?
Why aren't we making investments for us? Why aren't we, why are we? And again, it's a much bigger argument. Like, why are we so worried about, contractors and contractors coming and building their stuff here when the average person can't afford? It all ties in.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's one of those things where it's like you're saying people being priced out, but here's 10 more buildings that, are multi-million-dollar apartments that are going to sit empty.
Yeah. Do you want
they're going to sit empty.
You want the biggest, again, and I'm not one of these people that is like anti-establishment or anti-progress. Like, I'm the first one,
but that's not it.
I'm the first one that, I want them to build things and to build, I
progress.
Yes, progress. I want Miami to have the nice, shiny, pretty things, but there's a balance. Right. I think one of the biggest examples, and this is more of a local issue, so our listeners that are local will know. Right now in Brickell Key here in Miami, which is a very exclusive area, the Mandarin Oriental, which that hotel is less than 20 years old.
Really?
The Mandarin Oriental in Brickell Key was built, I think, in the early 2000s.
Really? I feel like that's been there forever.
It hasn't. It has not. That building is not more than 25 years old.
If that much.
It's not more than 25 years old. They're knocking it down to build a bigger building, and then...
But is it going to be another Mandarin?
The Mandarin is going to be in there, but it's going to be residential. And they start at like $5 million. And then Brickell Key, I don't know if you've noticed.
It's going to be hell to get in
right next to the Mandarin. So Brickell Key, for those of you listeners who aren't familiar with the Miami area, Brickell is one of the main. It's the central business district of Miami, and it's where most of the skyscrapers are at. Yeah. And there is like a teensy weensy little island off of Brickell.
I used to work on Brickell Key,
called Brickell Key. I mean, it's a little island, but there's a lot of skyscrapers there and office buildings. And again, this is I don't know what the footage is, but
I want to say it's like maybe 3 blocks.
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah. And the Mandarin Oriental is there. The only green space that they have in that island is a park that's next to the Mandarin Oriental. And that park is going down too.
Of course it is.
They're going to build they're going to build 2 twin towers there, and they're all like ultra, like not luxury, ultra luxury that starts at like 5-6 million people.
Right, and they're going to sit empty.
Right. So, you know,
Joni Mitchell was right.
Again, when you have problems like people can't afford rent, and then you have something like the Mandarin Oriental, which is already a beautiful, expensive hotel that's only been around for less than 25 years, and we're knocking this down to build something even
because we need more. We need more.
Right?
We need more.
I mean, that turns a lot of people off. And again, there could be a balance. There should be a balance.
There needs to be a balance.
There needs to be a balance. So. Anyway, speaking of revenues, this is something that I saw.
You're good with the transitions today, by the way.
That I saw in the news. Oh, it's 259 episodes.
It was about time.
I saw in the news today. We had spoken about this a few episodes ago in reference to Beyonce, but now I'm going to mention it in reference to Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay. We're just going down the diva list.
So do you know that the Federal Reserve, the United States Federal Reserve, the Feds, stated that Taylor Swift, her Eras tour, has boosted the economy and hotel revenues of all the cities that she's played in? So Taylor Swift is helping the economy.
She is helping the economy.
With the Eras tour.
I can't hate on that.
Wow. I mean, I believe it.
It makes sense if you stop and think about it.
You know what I'm finding, though? That
especially because, I mean, well, we know people who went to other cities to see her.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Something that I'm finding, and I'm seeing more and more with her and like Beyonce and all these big acts, it's that people are now flying places to go see someone, which that's something that, yes, there's always been that
but growing up, that wasn't a thing.
Right. But there's always been that level of fan, but now it's kind of like a thing. Like, let's get all our friends together.
Let's make it a trip.
And make it a trip to go see Taylor Swift.
Like it's a bachelorette party or something. Yeah.
And let's dress up. Like, people didn't really dress up for concerts that much.
I feel like when Madonna first went on tour, you see old footage, and the girls are dressed like Madonna. With the
when she first did. But generally, I mean, I've been to a lot of shows.
No. But I'm saying that's the only time I can think about.
I've been to a lot of concerts, a lot of different people,
the
different
Spice
genres.
Girls.
Yeah, you always had maybe a little bit, but on the most part, people didn't dress up for concerts. Mm-hmm. But now for like Taylor Swift's concert and Beyonce's concerts, I see it online. Like there's people in like full costumes.
Right, but you just said something very interesting, which is why they're doing it.
For it to go viral?
For it to go viral.
Yeah.
For it to be online, because now it's not enough to take a picture and say you went to a show. Now you have to have an ensemble.
Well, it's sort of like if you go to the gym and you didn't take a selfie, did you go to the gym?
Exactly. Right. As someone who takes a selfie.
So Taylor Swift has helped the economy.
I mean, look, it makes all the sense in the world. Again, you think about it, just as something as simple as like when you get out of the concert, you're hungry. Yeah. You go to eat at the local Taco Bell or whatever, right? So now that Taco Bell that is next to the arena is going to get this influx of the drive-thru is going to be out of hand that day.
Of Swifties.
Swifties, yeah. And, hotels and let's not talk about even just the merch because with it, I believe that the people who run the merch stations at those, they're all local, right? So they hire them at each place. So what does that mean? You're boosting the economy because now you're giving people jobs, and
I don't know. Recently, in the last few concerts I've been to, I buy the unofficial merch
outside.
Last year when I went to go see The Weeknd, that we were waiting to get in the parking lot to park at the Hard Rock Stadium. I'm very big on having tour shirts, and what's my
it must always have the dates and the cities on the back.
Exactly. If the tour shirt does not have the dates in the back and the cities, I don't want it. Yeah. So there was this guy walking down the street selling Weeknd shirts, and I go to him, "Sir, does it have the tour dates in the back?" And he's like, "It does." And I'm like, "Dámelo."
Yeah, just put it in the car. Just put it in the back seat.
$15 each.
You can't beat the price.
Do you know how much the shirts were? There were like 70. There were shirts that were between $70 and $90.
There was a Duran Duran shirt that I loved at the concert, and I didn't buy it because it was like $75. And I'm like,
And it was a T-shirt.
it's a T-shirt. I'm like, I'm gonna wear it maybe at the show, maybe another time to come here and record or something, and that's it.
No, but even if you wear it a lot,
Well, but at least if you wear it a lot, that's how
I
keep
have
it.
a lot of
don't.
concert tees.
I keep them, but I don't wear them.
I have so many, like from U2 and all that. I have a lot. I mean, I like having them because I like looking back on them and
Yeah, but for mine are just sitting in a drawer somewhere. I don't pull them out and look at them.
Yeah, they're not part of your collection.
No,
They're mine.
No, they're not. They're not. Speaking of things that are affecting the economy, SAG-AFTRA went on strike this week.
So no actors?
No actors, which means sponsors. There's no original content coming to TV, but there's original podcasts on Fiddle, let me tell you.
We're not part of a union. We're available.
We're pro-union, but we're just not part of one.
Is there a podcast union?
I don't think there is, because to organize that many podcast hosts must be hell.
Yeah.
But I was looking at some of the things that, so for those of you who don't know, SAG-AFTRA, that's the actors union, and now they are on strike as of this week, as of today, as of Fake Friday. So now they're joining the Writers Guild, being on strike, and this comes right after there was a Deadline article. I don't know if you saw it, that said, and I want to read exactly what it said. It is tremendous rice with mango. So the Deadline article, and it cites a source, which I always am a little weary of, because so when it says a source says, I'm always like, who's the source, right? But it says that the current tactic of the producers union and everybody else who's controlling all this is the end game is to allow things to drag on until union members, the WGA, start losing their apartments and losing their houses, a studio executive told Deadline. Acknowledging the cold as ice approach, several other sources reiterated the statement. One insider called it a cruel but necessary evil. So their whole tactic was basically like, yeah, we'll wait and see what they're going to give. They're going to take what we're going to give them because they're going to need the money. But I think that now that the actors are involved,
right,
it changes the game a lot. And I did not know that part of the actors deal is that they can't do acting, they can't do voiceovers, all of that stuff. They can't even go and promote projects.
You know what I wonder? This is the first thing I thought about. Can Whoopi Goldberg still do The View?
So there's a different union for soap actors, which I didn't know. I thought they were the same. Soap actors, reality, and I think daytime TV. Some of those people are members of SAG, but that program that they're on is a different union or a different entity. So technically, yes, Whoopi could continue to do The View. I believe, if I read it correctly, because it's one of those things where it's like she's a member of both. So if The View was to ask her now though to do like a skit, that she probably couldn't do, because that would be like a role, a character. So she can continue to just kind of show up and be Whoopi.
I was going to say, what about a late night TV host, but they're on strike because they have no writers?
They have no writers.
Man, I miss Bill Maher. But they're not getting paid, obviously.
Nobody is getting paid. That's the thing. And Fran Drescher, which listeners, I kind of will encourage you to go watch her speech, because it was like, oh, you go, nanny. Yeah. She said a lot of things.
Well, she is from Flushing, Queens.
She is from Flushing. She's a flashy girl from Flushings. But one of the things is that they keep saying it. It's like, look, at the end of the day, and this kind of ties back to what we were just talking about with Taylor Swift. The impact of this is not just because you can stand there and say like, oh, these high paid actors, they're just being spoiled and blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, yes and no, because not all actors get paid the same. Yeah. You've got somebody there's a lower rung. And again, actors, they get a job and then they don't work for another 2 years. So yes, they're making money now, but not then, and so on and so forth. But this is also going to wind up affecting, because now there's no productions. Well, what does that mean? That means that there's no costume designers working. So they're not going to get paid. Mm-hmm. There's no...
It's a domino effect.
There's no catering. So now those people are out of a job. Even at the studios, there's no lighting. The lighting... You know what I mean? There's nothing happening. So now it's a domino effect of because you're as the studio execs or the higher ups are drawing this line in the sand, now you're affecting everything. It's the ultimate domino effect, really.
And especially for like sitcoms and shows and all that, wouldn't the summer now be a really busy time for them because they got to prepare for the fall?
Absolutely. That's the problem. Right now, nothing was in production anyway because the writer's strike.
Right.
So now is when all the writers' rooms would start for the fall. Well, guess what? That wasn't happening. So even if the actors weren't on strike, they had nothing to do. So it's this domino effect thing. And
So in other words, because there's not going to be a lot of new content, I expect a lot of older shows to come out on Netflix.
or a lot of reality shows. The last time that there's going to be a lot of competitions, a lot of singing competitions,
MTV's
dancing.
going to have like 10 challenges going on at one time.
No, MTV will officially just change its name to RTV, Ridiculousness TV,
Yeah.
and just call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be done. That's it. But what I was saying is, so what I find interesting though with this is, and I think it kind of ties back to everything we've been talking about in terms of just from an income perspective. All these big studios and these big executives are always beholden to the shareholders. It's always about the bottom line, the dollars, and the investments. But the funny thing is that if you really start to sift through, all of the press, you find that a lot of times they're saying things like, we had our best year ever. We had our best year ever. Oh, subscriptions are up, or, and then they go to the advertisers and say, no, we're doing great. Invest in us, invest. And the CEOs have $1 million. But then when it comes to these people wanting to like renegotiate a contract because, hey, guess what? Streamers weren't part of the world when we last did it. AI sure as hell wasn't part of the things like that. They're like, oh, no, we don't have the money. Oh, we don't have the money. And it's like, literally, when you spoke to Forbes 2 months ago,
You said we had a record-breaking
you said
year.
record-breaking year, and it's insane to me. I don't know how, with your thoughts. I mean, I don't think you have anything different from mine.
No, not at all. I mean, I think that what's going on with the writers, and I'm going to focus more on the writers because I feel that writers, they're not celebrities and they don't get paid like celebrities.
It's a much smaller.
It's sort of like a similar argument that we have with teachers not getting paid well. These are people that do essential work.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't have a writer, you don't have a show. I don't care if Meryl Streep is on your show. If you don't have a writer, you don't have a show.
Yeah.
And these are, you could even say the success of a show is because of the writing team.
Absolutely. Especially with TV.
Right? How many times do you see a show that was great and then they change the writers? Una mierda.
Yeah. Like after season 4, it just went to hell.
Mierda.
Yeah.
Right?
They changed the showrunners, yeah.
So the fact that they're not being taken seriously, and as you said, they were waiting them.
They're like, we'll wait them out.
Yeah. That goes to tell you about the greed behind that. I mean, it's a matter of greed. It's
Bottom line.
They're not acting in good faith.
No, they're not.
Right? Because it's not like, okay, we're negotiating, we've given all these offers, and they're just not, they're not compromising, right?
Right.
No, it's just like, no, we're going to let you sit there and die.
Right. It's sad that it comes the day after, the SAG strike comes the day after the Emmy nominations.
Right.
When everybody should be celebrating. And again, that's when the studios always like to turn around and pat everybody on the back, right? Like, you're such a vital part of our team. You're so great. And then it's not.
No, that's terrible. That's terrible. I mean, hopefully it will cause that domino effect that you're talking about. And
I mean, I can't imagine the impact on Los Angeles being such a company
the
town.
economy.
Period.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean, when we were there in LA, in May, we saw the
writer strike.
The writer strike. We saw people striking and all that, and para la calle todo el mundo. You know what they need. You know what they need
pots and pans.
They need pots and pans.
They need pots and pans. Jenny, if you're listening,
no,
Eddie,
Jenny did.
I know she did. Yeah, Jenny, Eddie, Toni, Oscar, all of you guys, just take the pots and pans.
Yeah,
just do it.
Yeah, you need the pots and pans, man. That's effective. So, actually, something that I wanted to mention, which is movie related, I've sort of talked to you about this private, off the show. We do have conversations off the show, and seriously, like, I don't mean this in a comical or even critical way. I don't understand, and it's really a legitimate question, and I don't mean it again. I don't mean it in a salty way or in a critical way. What is all the hype with the Barbie movie? I don't get it. Like, and again, I'm not saying this in a critical way. It's more of a curiosity of it.
I can answer it
because I remember, and you and I used to mention this all the time. Last year, whenever they were filming the movie, I would say all the time, I'm like, Coño, I've never seen a movie where they have more like paparazzi shots of them filming the movie, and you know, whoever was taking the pictures of them shooting a scene or whatever than Barbie. It's like it was constantly. I'm like, this seems a little bit on purpose, and now. All the hype with the movie, like multiple premieres. I've even seen that she was wearing like some of the dolls' outfits.
All of her outfits are the doll outfits.
And that's fine. But I'm just, and again, I know that Barbie as a brand, I'm not, obviously it's demographic. So maybe I don't know about Barbie as much as I should, but Barbie although anybody could be part of the demographic.
Of course.
Barbie as a brand, has been around for a while, obviously, but this movie, I can't think of a movie in the last several years that has had more buzz from the moment it was in production to now that it's come out than Barbie, and it's about the doll. So, listeners, are you looking forward to this Barbie movie? Have you gone to see the Barbie movie? Yo no sé. I don't know.
The Barbie movie comes out next week.
I don't understand the whole thing about it, but again, I don't mean it in a salty or critical way. I'm just in a curious way. Yeah. What has been the big deal with Barbie?
So I will say I grew up with a sister, and I love Barbie. I just love the whole just aesthetic of it. Obviously, it's an iconic brand, an iconic character. 70 plus years she's been around. I think it's a lot of things. It's obviously, like you were saying, it's a big brand. It's iconic. This is also the first time that this doll, this brand, this character has been done in live action ever. So that's always going to be a thing, right? Like, think back to when we had, the first Avengers movie, the first, the quote unquote first X-Men movie. This was the first time we were seeing these characters we had known for years in live action. So that always carries a certain amount of excitement. But then there's also the fact that this movie they have been trying to make a Barbie movie in various iterations for, I would say, roughly 15 years. At one point, even Amy Schumer was attached to be Barbie. Like, so it's a movie that's had a lot of stops and starts. So there's just been a lot of curiosity. Also, there's been a lot of secrecy around the movie. So you've seen the pictures.
Secrecy with all the pictures that
right, but okay, but what's the plot?
Oh, I don't know.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, you keep seeing it, but we don't know what the plot is necessarily. I mean, I can give you broad strokes. Barbie.
Well, but I mean, life in plastic is fantastic.
Right, and this is true, and you can brush your hair everywhere, in Barbie Land or in the real world, which ultimately is what happens. Barbie leaves Barbie Land and comes to the real world, but we don't know why. What does that mean? How does it? So that's what I mean by there's a certain degree of secrecy of the plot. And I think there's just also something to be said at the end of the day for, number one, a hell of a marketing team. I got to give it to Warner Brothers. They have knocked it out the goddamn park. But there's also something likable about Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. And I think that a big part of the heavy lifting when you've got two stars que caen bien.
So you think it's casting has that a lot to do with it?
I think casting has a lot to do with it. I think also the fact that they are embracing, the diversity that is the Barbie line, right? So you've got Issa Rae as a Barbie, you've got Simu Liu as a Ken. So you also have, a lot of, it's not just blonde Barbie, blonde Ken. You've got all ethnicities and everybody kind of involved. So there's just a lot to kind of rally around. And this is also a brand that, let's be realistic. I mean, I love Barbie. I follow Barbie style on Instagram because I'm convinced that she's real. Because those pictures, those are not dolls. That bitch is out there like driving a car. But this is also a brand that has always had a certain degree of conflict, and she's not feminist. She has bad body image. So this is also an opportunity for Mattel to sort of take control of that narrative and flip it on its head, and kind of say,
this is such a well thought out answer to my question.
For them to say, like, but it's not about what she looks like, it's about the lifestyle, or it's about the mindset, where they did the whole thing where you can make yourself a Barbie, right? Because we can all be Barbie. It's about having that approach to life and that outlook. So there's a lot really going on here, and Mattel really has a lot of money invested in Barbie as a brand. Forget the movie, as a brand.
Yeah.
So this movie is an opportunity to continue that brand going forward for a whole new generation, especially when, as you said earlier, kids nowadays are mostly focused on playing on electronics. Action figures, dolls, they're still out there. People, kids still play with them, but it's not as big of a market as it was before. So this is another opportunity for them to really grab that market share and not lose that hold.
Everybody, thank you for coming to his TED Talk. Wow,
Sorry, I put my marketing hat on.
You really have thought about this. I mean, he didn't know I was going to ask him this. Like, you've really thought about this Barbie movie.
This was just me off the top of my head because because it's a valid question. It's like, okay, great, it's a Barbie movie. Like on the face of it, it's like it's just another property doing a movie.
To me, it's like another.
It's another IP.
I understand everything you said, but to me, it's like, oh, here we go with another IP. I mean, I guess you're right that there hasn't been another Barbie movie. I could just imagine them, because I'm sure there's going to be a sequel of them having like a Barbie and the Rockers. Like,
maybe she'll go on tour.
Let me ask you something, because I didn't know this. When you have Barbies, because they have like a black Barbie and like, different ethnicities of Barbie, is it still Barbie?
So it depends. It depends on the doll and the collection. So, for instance, with the holiday Barbies, they put out the white blonde Barbie. They put out a black Barbie. They put out the Trigueña Barbie, which to me is always the Latina Barbie. Then they do an Asian Barbie. The holiday collection ones, they're all Barbie. But then if they do like Barbie and the Rockers, to use your example, Barbie is the blonde, but then the black one will be Christy. The Asian one will have a different name. The other one will be Midge. So it depends on the story of that collection.
Okay, well, listeners, if you have any Barbie questions, we will be having a Q&A Wednesday of this week live. We're going to do an Instagram live where if you have any cute questions about Barbie and Mattel,
and this isn't even brought to you by the Barbie movie, this whole segment.
This is not brought to you by Mattel.
This is not sponsored at all.
All right.
But all right. Well, are we thirsty?
I guess we are.
Okay,
one last question.
All right,
I do have one last question before.
Because after all that, I'm a little
before
parched.
we go into our last sodas. I have one last question. Okay. Do we really think that this Amazon Prime Day thing, is it real, or are these hijinks? Okay, I gotta tell you, I log in every year. I don't see things that much cheaper. Yes, the Amazon products are cheaper. You want an Alexa, you're going to get it cheaper.
Yeah.
You want an Amazon Fire Stick, you're going to get it cheaper.
Right.
But aside from the Amazon products, I don't find that things are that much cheaper.
You're not wrong.
The way they make it seem is like,
Tremenda rebaja.
You're going to get out, you're
going
to get, everything is half off, 70% off. I don't find things that are that much cheaper. So is it just me, or is this, esto es una mentira lo de Amazon?
I don't know. Well, I don't have as much info on that as Barbie. But to your point though, on Prime Day, I bought a lot of stuff, but I bought a lot of stuff that I was going to buy anyway. And I was just like, bueno, if it's $3 off, it's $3 less that I have to pay. So I didn't approach it from the perspective of like looking.
It was a volumes thing,
right? I wasn't looking for something. It's something that I was already going to buy, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just hold off on a couple days and see if they drop it a couple bucks, to save that. And since it's Prime, I don't have to pay shipping.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. It's probably mostly Amazon, branded things that were severely reduced. Some of the things, actually, I bought some stuff from Pimpampoyo. It was like $1 less. Right. But I'm like, okay, well, but $1 less is $1 less.
If you had to buy 20 things and you just wait a couple of days to get it, even if you save $1 in each one, it's worth
$20. Yeah.
But the way they make it seem is like that this Amazon Prime Deal Day, it's like, you're going to get everything 50-70% off. I just don't find that's true.
No. And it probably depends on what you bought.
Right, but I looked at a lot of different things in like different areas, from personal care, like hygiene and like hair products, to like clothing, to electronics. Like I run the gamut in terms of area, and I didn't find it that much cheaper.
No, you're right.
That much cheaper. So eso es una estafa.
Es una estafa.
Yeah, my parents were always so big in that. Eso es una estafa, and anything they didn't understand. Eso es una estafa. So anyway, I'm a little thirsty.
All right,
so
you are thirsty.
I'm gonna go first. We're gonna give our last soda. So I'm actually going to give my last soda to Norman Lear, who turns 100. 101?
No, 100.
Who turns 100 this week. Norman Lear.
God bless
turns
him.
100. And Norman Lear, for those of you who don't know, which you should, has created some of the most iconic television shows in television history. So Norman Lear now is going to be on strike too. or is on strike because he's a writer.
He's a writer.
So Norman Lear, and he created. Well, all his shows are iconic, but if I were to say one, it would be All in the Family.
Absolutely.
All in the Family, and then he created Good Times, Maude,
Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons.
One Day at a Time.
One Day at a Time, yes. What is your favorite Norman Lear show? I know what my favorite is.
I'm gonna go Jeffersons.
Yeah?
Jeffersons. I love the Jeffersons. I love everything from Tom and Helen to Wheezy to George to Florence. Like, it was just such a well-oiled machine.
My favorite is Good Times. It's definitely Good Times.
Different Strokes was also a Norman Lear.
Different Strokes, yeah. Different Strokes,
which I don't think of as
Different
but
Strokes
yeah.
holds a special place in my heart because we were kids when Different Strokes. Was
Yeah,
on.
we grew up with Different Strokes,
right? Where
yeah.
the other ones were older. But mine would probably be Good Times. Good Times in a close second is Maude. I love Maude, and the thing is that I really liked Maude when I was a kid, which totally was.
Yeah,
not,
what were you liking?
Like totally, but I liked it. I liked it in part because of the theme song, but I loved
magic of B. Arthur.
I loved Good Times. I still do.
You have a special place for Good Times.
I love it.
You really
I love it, and it's like wow. I mean, when you think of those shows, they were all. And I'm going to use the word that everybody uses nowadays loosely, but all his shows were iconic.
Absolutely.
Because all those shows that we mentioned there are all iconic.
Yeah. No, they
All
are.
of them.
They're all. I mean, they're classics. They're icons. Yes. They were benchmark setting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he did them all.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Norman Lear.
Facts of Life was also him.
Yep. Life well lived.
Yes. So my last soda is going to be one of my weird little last sodas. It's going to be a gasless soda. It's been very quick. I'm just going to give it to people at the gym who